Ayo, what up? Welcome. And if you've been watching my live streams that we do every day, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here on YouTube, you know that I've been having a wonder of a time with the new weapon balance that came with Season 4 in Warzone, which is no longer Warzone 2.0, mind you. It's just called Warzone. We'll get into that a whole nother time. But in Warzone, the weapon balance has been completely changed, along with adding 50 HP and slowing down health regeneration by 2 seconds, up to 4 seconds extra after that if you use frangible ammo, which is a whole nother problem. They also have removed the headshot damage for the majority of the weapons in the game. So the ARs, the SMGs, the LMGs, and many of the likes have no more headshot damage. Or if it does, it has so little headshot damage that it actually doesn't create much of a difference. There are weapons that do not fall into this category, though. Things like the M4, the M13, the Lackman 5.56 for ARs, the SMGs sitting as the Boss P, the PDSW, and the Mini-Bach, all featuring headshot damage multipliers, but having the slowest possible TTKs for their classes as well beforehand, meaning you need to be 100% accurate with headshots to actually get a viable TTK. Time to kill for those of you unfamiliar with the phrase TTK. But one of the things that has not been completely nerfed into the ground is one of my favorite weapon categories, and that is the battle rifles. The battle rifles are a weapon class that is both viable in single shot and in full auto, and generally has been plaguing us with the likes of the Cronin Squall. Well, the Cronin Squall has been nerfed to pretty much the ground. It's on pretty much par with all the standard ARs right now that feature a no headshot damage build, but the single shot still has headshot damage, so big variety there. With that being said, the battle rifles now feature a headshot multiplier in single shot, but none in full auto. The full auto on the battle rifles are nowhere near as good as they used to be, but if you are a single shot monster, like myself, a person who is a big fan of marksman rifles, and of course battle rifles in that category as well, this may be your time. If you remember Warzone featuring the DMR meta, this is going to be as close as we're going to get back to that. Weapons like the SCAR, so the TAC-V, the SO-14, and the Lackman 7.62 all feature some of the best time to kills for the game and are both viable in semi-auto and full auto, making for extremely varied build paths, which is something we don't get a lot of in Warzone, especially for what would be considered a quote-unquote meta weapon style. With that, running a SMG for if you're weaker at close quarter gunfights with battle rifles, or running a sniper rifle if you're looking for long range coverage on your close quarter battle rifles. The battle rifles are a highly flexible class setup. And today for our gameplay, we have a battle rifle. I'm running the SCAR. This is the SCAR Heavy, known as the TAC-V inside of Warzone. And I'm running the Bryson 800. The shotguns also walked away from the nerf that was Season 4 in a positive. If you have a good build for the Bryson 800 or 890, you're able to two-tap people. And if you are within range, the hip fire on that is absolutely disgusting. So the gameplay you'll be seeing behind me is the TAC-V and the Bryson 800 as me and my buddy Mugs TV run rampant inside of the new Vondel map, and we end up dropping a sizable number of eliminations for this round. So I hope you enjoy it, and while we do that, let's talk about the weapons. So, talking about the weapons, I'm going to talk about 3 different categories. I'm going to talk about Battle Royale, I'm going to talk about Resurgence, and I'm going to talk about Ranked. And pretty much this is going to be a good overview of what you should expect to see in each one of those currently. So, let's start with Battle Royale. You're going to see a larger emphasis on sniper and sniper support, especially with weapons such as the Signal 50, which is extremely strong currently in the still now nerfed HP meta. You're also going to be seeing a lot of the ISO 45. If you're not familiar with the ISO 45, it is the brand new SMG available to you in the Battle Pass right now, and it's pretty easy to get to. It's only 2 sectors down from the start point. But the ISO 45 is by far one of the most broken SMGs we have available to us. Currently sitting at a 603 time to kill for milliseconds, and it is by far the most consistent, hitting at 30 damage for every body part, meaning you get the same 603 millisecond time to kill for a foot shot as you do for a headshot, which makes it both extremely consistent, but also extremely lethal. So if you haven't already picked that one up, I recommend doing so and leveling it quickly, as it is going to take over, and it's going to take over really, really fast. So get on it if you want to be using the best SMG available to you. Sniper rifles, you're going to be looking at the Signal 50 still. The rate of fire in combination with just the overall damage is going to most likely be frustrating for a lot of people. The 2-tap happens extremely quickly, and you only need to land the chest shots or headshots, and you'll put people down very fast. So between the combination of the ISO 45 and the Signal 50, you're going to see a lot of frustration in Battle Royale with these current TTK changes once people pick these up. When you get over to Vondel, there's not a lot that's going to change from that, with the exception of the fact that you will see a little bit more variety in the options of what you can run, but you will be seeing still probably quite a bit of Signal 50 and ISO 45 when that becomes more standard in Battle Royale. Unfortunately, in Vondel, you'll also be seeing a lot of riot shielders. The melee has been altered. I wouldn't say necessarily nerfed, because the combat knife now drops people in 2 hits, and anything with a muzzle break can, well, not a muzzle break, anything with a melee muzzle can drop people in 3. Throwing knives can hit you in 1, and being stuck by anything will take you down as well. So currently, restock, riot shield, and melee is going to be very prevalent. Also, riot shield with ISO 45, as again, the ISO 45 is absolutely disgusting. So if you haven't already, I recommend swapping to something that can take out riot shielders on your lethals, and probably stuns or anything of the sort that will be able to help you keep them off of you. There is going to be a ton of them on Vondel, and with the Tonfa being released as part of the event, the melee weapon, you're going to see a lot more of them, especially because the Tonfa can be unlocked by completing 25 melee kills inside of Vondel right now, which is what I'm being told. I don't have it unlocked because I really don't go for melee very much, but it is there, and there is a chance you are going to see a lot of it. Now, looking at ranked, the shotgun has been removed. The problematic shotgun has been removed, the broadside with Dragon's Breath rounds. So you're going to be currently seeing a lot of people running the Lachmann 5.56 and probably the ISO 45. The Lachmann 5.56, one of the few ARs that does have a headshot value and is easy to control, which means it's going to probably take over quite a bit. But I do believe that as people become aware of the marksman rifles and the battle rifles being as strong as they are, you may see a return of both the EBR, and then I recommend the SO14, but the likes of the TAC-V and the Lachmann 7.62 are also very easy to take over in single shot, and you're going to see high skill players should be properly utilizing those. So if you haven't already considered leveling your battle rifles, or if you haven't been using them for a while, recommend looking back at those. The EBR TAC-M as well, and the Tempest Torrent, which features the fastest TTK for the marksman rifle class, is also something really worth looking at. Of course, pairing those with an ISO 45 is going to be absolutely lethal, so consider looking at those as well. There was a recent major systems change to the way that the health regen works. Before, the health regen was 5 seconds to go from next to nothing to full, but now in the systems there is from 5 seconds to 7 seconds to be able to actually regenerate almost all of your HP. Even worse from that, the recent adoption of utilizing frangible in those situations as well means that your health to return from damaged low all the way to full HP can take upwards to almost 12 seconds to get back into combat. Meaning utilizing things such as stim or quick fix as one of your perks is going to become almost completely necessary to be able to get back into the fights quickly. Also, a neat trick is every down is a heal on the quick fix, but every finish is a heal on the quick fix as well, meaning that you can actually heal yourself twice in one fight without utilizing any of the stims. But if you are a person who is familiar with stims from Warzone 1, you're going to see a large return from these. You can hip fire while using stims as well, which allows you the ability to actually fight through gunfire and to continue healing, which is a little awkward as well, as it's something that people who are only coming in to Warzone now that may not be familiar with how that works. Also, with stims comes the issue of gas plays. And while gas plays are excellent for being able to outplay your enemy, and those of which are because of generally glitches, which allow people to survive in the gas significantly longer than intended. Meaning you can actually lose a round after doing everything right because somebody is exploiting a system that should not be working the way it is. Gas has also been reduced on the amount of damage you take while you're in it. So these systems are going to be very prevalent. Do watch out for people who spend an enormous amount of time in the gas that you can't find. Consider if there is a buy station nearby on purchasing a UAV and seeing if you can't chase them down with some stems of your own, an ammo box, and a durable gas mask. If you spend a lot of time in the gunsmith, you may have noticed also that the muzzles have been changed if you've been utilizing things like compensators and muzzle brakes. Compensators and muzzle brakes no longer feature the gun kick control mechanic and are now been replaced by recoil control. Recoil control is a overall just umbrella term, meaning that it just reduces the amount of drift that your gun makes while you're firing it. The gun kick control was actually reducing the violence in which the gun kicks, which means the unpredictability in which the gun can travel as it recoils. That has now been dedicated specifically to only the flash hider section of the guns. So if you are a weapon builder and you haven't noticed that already, you may need to actually go back through and retune all of your weapons and maybe find a new muzzle for what you're running. If you are a Harbinger D20 person who has been running that since the first time someone like JGod said, use the Harbinger D20, then you're probably fine. That has not been changed at all. But it is worth noting that the armor values have also been removed from the game as well with the TTK change. That means all of your guns are going to be dealing significantly less damage over range along with the HP increase. So weapons like the M4 that used to be doing a decent amount of damage, 24 damage per bullet over ranged armor, is now sitting at a significantly lower in the teens damage number for long range. So you're going to be wanting to consider maybe even speccing into more of the damage range things for some of the mid-range fights. So that way you aren't required to hit nearly as many bullets as you are having to most likely right now, especially if you are moving over from Vondel back into Al Mazrah. And one of the things to note is also that Vondel is a highly mid-ranged map with, of course, a lot of very tight corners. So if you do choose to take a muzzle that is not the traditional muzzle brake compensator or any of the other of the likes, do possibly consider running one of the melee barrels, as again, it reduces melees by 1, meaning you no longer need 4 melees down, but instead 3, and you'd be surprised on how clutch that can become inside of one of the staircases. Or if you are a person running throwing knives, obviously those work exceptionally well for buffing your melee. And one of the last things that I can recommend that I have been pretty against for a large portion of the time on Al Mazrah is the adoption of hipfire lasers. With the change to the TTK and the removal of most headshot damages in the game, the most important thing for combat currently is shooting first. Especially with the ISO 45, considering that all of its damage points are the exact same, a hipfire shot is going to be just as effective as an aim shot because no matter where you land, if you land a shot, you are already starting on that just obnoxiously fast TTK. So running a hipfire laser, even one of the weaker ones that are not as easily seen or not seen at all, will give you an immense advantage in a gunfight. Being able to shoot first by removing your sprint to fire time and then ADSing while you're continuing to hip fire, you'll be able to then be accurate at the end of the thing as well. Also on maps like Vondel in close quarters, start being able to fire first and accurately inside of the hip fire and then transitioning into ADS for more accurate fire up to a mid-range, you are going to find yourself winning significantly more fights. If you learned something or enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like as it will help me immensely. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, peace.
Good Lord, Fire, just relax, my guy.
I can't stop, won't stop.